What on earth was the lollipop scene? I'm telling you now, if you weren't with this book, what are you doing? Hello everyone, welcome to my booktube. I'm a romance reader and I love all things to do with books, so if you like that sort of content, don't forget to subscribe and let's get into the video. So for today's video, I'm going to be going through all the Booktok books that I think are worth the hype and the ones that are not. Now, a lot of books that I have bought are because of recommendations from TikTok. Now, a lot of the books I'm a bit like, are they popular or not, or is it just people hyping them up just for the sake of hyping them up? And some of them I would say yes, that is the reason, but some of them I'm like, no, they are popular because they are fucking good. So I have got a list on my tablet of all the books that I've read that are on Booktok. Some of them have been popular on Booktok a while ago, and then obviously some of them are a little bit more recent. So the first one, if you have been on Booktok or you've been on Booktube and you've been around the book community for a while, then you know that Colleen Hoover books were very much a popular thing on Booktok, and a lot of people talked about Colleen Hoover. Now it's a bit more controversial of whether you like it or not. People are like, oh, if you like Colleen Hoover, like, I don't want to be associated with her, and I'm like, it doesn't really matter. Like, I'm not saying that because somebody might like Colleen Hoover books, it doesn't mean that I wouldn't still then talk to him about books, if that makes sense. So yes, Colleen Hoover is a bit more controversial. I personally, in my opinion, I'm not the greatest fan of Colleen Hoover books, and the reason is because they're very depressing, they're very dark, and they're very mind fucking. The only one that I do really like, which is obviously what I'm going to talk about, is It Ends With Us, which I have bought multiple copies of this book from the charity shops. This one is in brand new condition, it's never been used, it's just got a little stain mark on the front from a coffee, but you can't really tell. I really enjoyed this book. Now this one, it does have dark elements in of domestic violence, so a lot of Colleen Hoover books do have dark elements in of anything like that, and I think that's what's kind of triggering to a lot of people. So if you are thinking about going into reading a Colleen Hoover book, just know they are quite dark, and even though this is a romance book, it's still quite depressing, if that makes sense. But this is the best one I found that I have read by her that I've really enjoyed. I do actually have a special edition of this book as well, which I really like, but this is the only one that I probably would keep to. Now if you have watched the film of this as well, then you'll know that there's very much differences and similarities in the book. Now obviously the book is much more descriptive than the film, but this one, the only one that I actually really like by her, and It Starts With Us, obviously the second book, but this one I would say more so. I don't think personally there was any need to bring out It Starts With Us, really, because it was more of a background on Lily and Atlas. Now I'm going to say that because most people have read this book, but Lily and Atlas is in the second book, and I don't think it was very necessary. I feel like it was a bit more rushed, whereas this one was a bit more descriptive. And even though this has got dark elements in, and I find that, like I say, Colleen Hoover books do have dark elements in, such as domestic violence and stuff, and it can be quite triggering to people. So I think that's why Colleen Hoover is quite controversial. I mean, there's other stuff as well, but in the way that she writes the books, they are quite mind-fucking, and this is the only one that I can actually cope with and not feel like that. But it is a good, realistic sort of what could happen in a relationship, or what does happen in relationships through that, and it's a bit more like true to life, if that makes sense. I know that sounds really depressing as well, but things like this do happen in real life, and I think that she's really represented that well in this book. So yeah, there is that one. So the next books in the Colleen Hoover section of this one is the Slammed series. Now this one I read quite a few years ago. It has 3 books in this series. However, the first one I thought it's a bit of a setup for the rest of the books. Let's see what it's like. It is quite depressing. It's about basically this girl that's lost a dad, ends up moving with a mum and a little brother, I think it is. I can't remember, it's that long ago now. I think it's her and a little brother, and a mum obviously moved to a different house. She then ends up meeting this boy, well, this lad that lives next door to her, with his brother who also lost his parents. So they sort of get to know each other, and then other things start happening, and it's like, what the fuck is going on? I find that a lot of her books are very depressing, and every time I have read them, it's put me in a slump. And I've had to just stare at a wall for, you know, at least 10 minutes before I process what the fuck was happening in the book. So yeah, the Slam series is not my favourite. The second book of it was also very depressing. I thought maybe it's going to pick up a bit, you know, maybe something happy is going to happen in it. No, it got fucking worse. And then the third book was basically a repeat of the first book, but his side, and it's like you've just written it word for word, like there was no point in that last book at all. But all of that series is very fucking depressing. And the bit is, though, you think, oh, they're going to do something, they're going to get together, you know, they're going to, you know, it's going to be a bit spicy, and then cuts off straight away, and you're like, oh, you're like, what the fuck? Like, what was the point in that build up for literally nothing? So yeah, that one for me, just, I just wish I never read the other books in it. I wish I'd have just been like, no, I don't really care what happens, I'm not really bothered. But I thought, after reading the first book, I thought, oh, maybe the second book's going to pick up a bit and going to be a bit more pleasant, a bit more happier. No, it gets fucking worse. And then obviously the third book, like I say, it's basically a rewrite of the other one, just in his point of view, which is exactly the fucking same as hers. So I was like, I'm reading the same fucking book here. So yeah, that one, not my favourite. Ugly Love. A lot of people talk about Ugly Love, and a lot of people have liked this book. Now personally for me, again, it is quite depressing. It is about child loss. So again, if that is triggering to anyone, then I suggest don't fucking read that book, because it is about a child that they've lost. And I think as I was reading it, I was like, what the fuck? Like, it was really, really mind fucking. And I just couldn't, I did read it, like I say, but it just really just put me off the books. I think Ugly Love was the first one I read out of this whole section of Colleen Hoover. And then I moved on to Slam series. And once I read them, I was like, oh my god, like, I feel so fucking depressed after these books. And then I read It Ends With Us, and it picked it up a bit. And then I thought, oh, influenced again by Booktok, let's read Never Never. Now, Never Never isn't a bad book. Out of the Slam series and Ugly Love, out of them lot, I would say Never Never was the better book. Never Never is basically about two young kids that are boyfriend and girlfriend that end up basically forgetting each other, and they're having to find a way back to each other and learning about all the past and learning about everything that why they fell in love with each other in the first place, which is kind of sweet. But in between, she gets drugged, she gets kidnapped. It's just really, really messed up. And I think that's what I'm saying, like, a lot of these books are very hard to read, and if you're not in that state of mind where you're, you know, physically fine to read them books, then I would suggest don't even fucking bother. And I've not read any more than that. I said I was going to stop after that. I did have Verity on my playlist. I did have Verity on my bookshelf at the time, but I decided to get rid of it. I was like, you know what, I can't physically do it with Colleen Hoover anymore. She's making me feel so depressed after reading all these books. All of her books that I have read don't get a happy ending, and I'm like, I need something that's going to be a bit more uplifting when I read it. I want to get out of the real world and not listen to stuff like that. So yeah, I think that Colleen Hoover, even though she is controversial, the best one for me out of that is It Ends With Us, and It Starts With Us series. It's a bit more milder, I should say milder, but it still has domestic violence in. But out of all of them, I would obviously say It Ends With Us is kind of worth the hype that it did get at the time. So yeah, there's Colleen Hoover. The next one, I'm going to talk about Ali Hazelwood, because obviously after that depressing moment with fucking Colleen Hoover, I thought I'd get her out the way. First one out the way. Ali Hazelwood has got to be one of my favourite authors ever. She is the one that got me into picking and buying books again and loving the world of reading. And I'd obviously read a couple of, like I say, a couple of Colleen Hoover books before I really started getting into reading. And she's the one that literally made me want to go out and buy books again, make a bookshelf, you know, make a booktube, make a, not booktube, a Booktok, and just start doing it all over again. Ali Hazelwood, oh my, Love on the Brain. Out of every book I've read by Ali Hazelwood, I would say Love on the Brain has topped it. That book is one of my favourite books ever. I even have the French special edition on my shelf because it's that good. And I just thought, you know what, I need that cover. It's beautiful and I'm going to keep it. So I have Love on the Brain, which is here. I had it in second hand and then it was in Aldi, and I bought the brand new version because I thought, I need this book again. I need to read it again, to be fair, because it was that fucking good. I loved it. I want to reread it and see if I still felt the same way. But at this moment in time, I just absolutely adore this book. This one is my favourite one of hers, and I would suggest out of all the ones that I have read by her, read this one. This one is so fucking good. If you love a good enemies to lovers book, this one's it. Is it an enemies to lovers? It kind of is, because she's kind of like annoyed with him and vice versa, but he's only annoyed with her because he really likes her and vice versa. Like, she doesn't really have a clue that he likes her, but she's like, oh, I can't stand this man, he's actually getting on my tits. But then after a bit, they end up getting forced to work together, and that's where everything starts to kick off. But yeah, this one has a very strong female character, and I like a book that has a strong female character in, and I think that's why I like this book so much. And this one is basically about a woman in STEM as well, which obviously in that sciencey world doesn't get talked about enough, and I think that's why she decided to write about women in STEM. So yes, I just, Levi, fucking Levi. It's been ages since I read this book, but I would 100% reread it all over again. But yes, out of all the books, I would say Love on the Brain from Ali Hazelwood is just beautiful. Then another one by her is Love Hypothesis. This again was popular when I first got onto Booktok, and this one is the first one I actually read before Love on the Brain, and I only gave it 4 stars at the time. It was okay, I did enjoy it, and I think that's why I wanted to read more of the books, because I was like, well, this was actually quite enjoyable to read. This one is about a PhD candidate, which is called Olive, and the professor, which is Adam Carlson. Now, Adam Carlson is fucking annoying in this book to start with, but then towards the end, it's more of a grumpy sunshine kind of thing, and he's just putting a front on, basically. He's not really as bad as what she thinks he is. But she ends up kissing him by accident, because her friends keep on about her dating life and was like, oh, you really need to get out and stuff like that, and she's like, oh, I've got a boyfriend already. And then this man ends up being in the same place that she is, and she's like, oh, she grabs him, doesn't know who he is, grabs him, kisses him, and her friend's like, oh my god, who was that he was kissing? And obviously nobody knows, but he knows, she doesn't know. He knows full well who she was, but she doesn't know, and that's how it kind of comes out, cause everything starts to turn, and she's like, I'm sure I remember him, his face and everything, it seems so similar, so familiar to me, but obviously she doesn't recognise it until later on in the book. But yeah, this one is a very fluffy, not a fluffy, it's kind of, it does have a little bit of spice in it, but this one is kind of a really cutesy enemies to lovers read fake dating trope. So I think that one and Love on the Brain is definitely worth the read out of the books that I am going to recommend. And then we have Love Theoretically. Now for Love Theoretically, I actually pre-ordered because I was so excited. I was like, oh my god, I really need this book. I am going to fall in love with this book because I really like her writing, and I actually ordered it, and I was kind of disappointed when I read it. This one for me only got 3.5 stars, I think, at the time, or 3 stars, one of the two. This one is about a woman, again in the sciencey realm. It's all very much the same, similar thing is because Adam and Olive do actually get mentioned in this book, so it's still surrounding that sort of area, but it's not like a next book to this one, it's just a standalone, but it mentions previous characters. And this one, Elsie was very much a people pleaser in this book all the way through, and I wanted to fucking put my hands around her throat and be like, oh my god, I wanted to shake her, like, come on. And then towards the end, you saw the personal growth in her as well as the male main character, which was a fucking arsehole all the way through until the end, where it's like, well, I was only like that because I just wanted you to stand up for yourself and see what your worth was and blah blah blah. But it was like, no mate, no. So Love Theoretically for me didn't get quite the hype that I thought it would, because like I said, I really love Ali Hazelwood and I love her books, but this one for me was just not it, and I didn't really like it, and it just wasn't my favourite. So for me personally, the hype that this book got wasn't for me. Then we have Loathe to Love You. Now this one in particular had 3 books, so you can buy them separately as the books, or you can buy it all in one. This one kind of confused me because I was like reading it and it didn't really say, oh, next book, next book, next book. It just all flung into one, and I was like, what the fuck is going on here? But kind of got the grasp of it towards the end. So there's 3 books in it separately. They're all friends and they all end up getting with someone, and that's their stories, so each girl has a separate story. I just didn't really get the hype of this one, and it just wasn't my favourite. Like, it wasn't a book that I thought, oh my god, like I really loved it. It just was a bit dry for me, and it was a bit like, not really interested in this book, I'm not really bothered. And even though there was 3 separate stories in it, every single one I was a bit like, no. Like this it's just not a bit of me, and I didn't really like it. So this was obviously a edited version, because, well, I say edited version, it was a one that got put all together, because you can buy them separately, all the books, but this one actually got put together and it was renamed to as a, it seemed like it was a different book, but it wasn't. But yeah, it was just really boring, and for me, I didn't particularly love it, so I just thought, no, sorry Ellie Hazelwood, this is not for me. Then we have Cruel Winter with You. Now Cruel Winter with You was in collaboration with 2 other authors, I believe. They all did short stories on Kindle around about Christmas time, and I read this and I actually really enjoyed it. I actually thoroughly enjoyed this book. I just wished it was longer, and this was all the hype because I think Tessa Bailey did another book with it and someone else, I think. I don't know whether they all linked together, I'm not sure, but I don't think they would have done because they would have had to all come together to do a link. But I think these were just similar stories that ended up being in collaboration with all 3 of them, and each one wrote their own separate story for Christmas. This one, like I say, if there was more to it, I would have really enjoyed it, but because there wasn't, I was like, once it started happening, drama started happening, we found out what it was on the next page, and that was the end of it. But obviously it had to be wrapped up that quick because it was a short story. So for me personally, this Cruel Winter with You wasn't what I would have liked it to have been, because I would have preferred a longer book, if that makes sense. I think these short stories are just not for me because they're too quick, and I know that I like a quick fast-paced book, but that was just like you turn a page and it's already finished. But yeah, Cruel Winter with You, it's a bit too short for me. And I do love a quick fast-paced book, but this was to the point where it was like 50 pages and I was like, nah, you can't really do a book in that page in that amount of pages. So then we have Anna Huang. Right, Anna Huang, let me fucking tell you. Right, if you have ever heard of this woman, she is very famous for the Twisted series on TikTok and in general, and this book, well, these books are worth the fucking hype. They are definitely worth the hype. I have had these books on my shelf for a very long time. I bought them when I started buying books again in the whole series, and I never read them. And I read King of Wrath first, which is obviously a separate part of her books, like it's separate to the Twisted series. So King of Wrath for me, it had the billionaire trope in it. I read it and I wasn't too impressed with it. And I was like, why did I buy this after and read this after I bought the other ones? Yeah, why didn't I just read the Twisted series first? So King of Wrath for me kind of put a dampener on her books in general because I didn't really feel it, and I was like, billionaire trope, the forced arranged marriage, I was a bit like, nah, this is not for me. However, I eventually plunged into reading Twisted Love, which is the shortest one out of the series. Now this one for me got 4 stars, and I did actually really enjoy this book as I read it. This has similar tropes in it, so I don't know what I was feeling about the other one. I don't know whether I was just like, no, I'm not really feeling this one, because it's very similar. It's very similar to King of Wrath in the way that they have a billionaire trope in it, and one of them's rich and one of them's not. You know, best friend sister this one's about, but it still had the rich man in it, which I thought, oh, maybe it's the trope, but it wasn't. It must have been just the book in general. I was like, no, I'm not really feeling it. And it's definitely worth giving it a go, because if you have read other Anna Huang books and you're like, no, not really liking it, then you read this one, I think you're then going to like it a little bit more. But like I say, this one's about a best friend's sister, and it is a billionaire trope, which a lot of people do like that sort of thing. But I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to like it, and I read it and I actually thoroughly enjoyed it. And at the end I was like, what the fuck is kicking off? So yeah, this one is definitely worth the hype for me. We obviously have 3 other books in this series. So you have Twisted Games, Twisted Hate, and then you also have Twisted Lies. Now I haven't got Twisted Lies because I have not read their book, but I can speak for these 3 books because I have read them. So Twisted Games, oh my god, out of all the fucking books out of the Twisted series, this one is the best book. And a lot of people have said it on TikTok that this one's the best one. And if you're thinking, oh well, I don't know because it's so popular, is it going to be any good? You might not like it, but for me, I fucking love this book. This one, so far out of the series, is the fucking best book, and I cannot get over the fact that this is coming to Netflix, and I cannot wait to see what Reese and Bridget is actually like in real life. So yeah, Twisted Games is just, oh, I have mentioned a previous book in a previous video about a book called This Man, and that one, it's got a lot of smut in it, it's got a lot of spice in it. This one has a lot of spice in it, don't get me wrong, but this one has a storyline, whereas the other one doesn't. And I find that when it has that sort of thing in it, I'm like, I'd rather a storyline go with it rather than it just be, you know, page after page after page full on smut, because it's nothing. I might as well just be watching a film of it, do you know what I mean? But this one has a real storyline to it, and oh my god, I fell in fucking love. This one, I don't know why I didn't read these sooner, because I would have fucking fell in love as soon as I read them. But I was like, oh, I was really put off because I was like, oh, they're so popular on TikTok, I don't want to read them. But this is worth the hype. This is the best out of the series, Twisted Games. This one is obviously about a princess and a bodyguard. Now for me, again, it's very much the rich trope, but she doesn't act like a spoiled brat. She's not uppity, she's not, you know, uptight or anything like that. She just wants to be treated like a normal person, and she just wants to hang out with her mates because obviously she's still young. But obviously with her being royal, she's got to do it in a certain way. So she has a bodyguard, which obviously she ends up falling in love with. But this book, I'm telling you now, if you aren't with this book, what are you doing? Just get it, because this is definitely worth the hype. Out of every book on TikTok that I've ever seen worth the hype, this is it. This is the #1 best fucking book. Then obviously Twisted Tate is the third book. As you can see, I've got my little tabbies in there. This one, it was alright. And it kind of gave a dampener on the last book, because this one, it was okay. It just wasn't as good as Twisted Games, which I was like, oh, I was really disappointed. But I still thoroughly enjoyed it, and I still gave it 4 stars. So all of these books so far, I've had 4 stars plus. So obviously Twisted Games has been the best one. The other 2 have got 4 stars. So none of these books in this series so far have had 4 stars, any less than 4 stars, which for me, as a person that's ranking books for honesty and blunt and brutal, that's fucking good. Actually, have I even said they're all friends and they've all got separate stories? So this is about Jules and Josh. Let me tell you, at the beginning I was a bit like, not really feeling it, because he's coming across as a really cocky, arrogant knobhead, and she's coming across as if to say, like, I can get any bloke I want, I can do what I like. It just came across a bit like that, and I was like, what the fuck? I'm not really a big fan of this. But then, as I got through halfway through the book, I was like, actually, their feelings are starting to develop, but they are the way they are because of what happened to him. And he's never really liked her, in a sense, when she was friends with Ava, well, when she's friends with Ava, because he comes across, he basically says that she's a bad influence on her. And every time that she gets into trouble, she's always in the background lurking somewhere. So she's like, right, he's like, oh, I don't really like her because of that. But he doesn't actually not like her. It's just portrayed as that at the beginning, but he does always have feelings for her and vice versa. But they've always sort of like hated each other, because every time they're around each other, they're like, oh, he's there again. Do you know what I mean? So this one, it got 4 stars, and I think from about the middle of the book, so the way I've got the most tabs was there, is in the middle of the book, it did get better. But again, if you are wanting to read the Twisted series, get yourself these books, get yourself into the Works, Amazon, Waterstones, wherever you want to buy them from, and get them, because they are all worth it so far. I've only read 3 of them, which is good, because 3 out of 4 to say how good is absolutely amazing for me, especially out of the series. So if you are thinking about getting and buying the Twisted series, I definitely recommend them, because they are so worth the fucking hype, especially Twisted Games, my favourite. And if you are debating on whether is it just, you know, people are just saying it because it's popular on TikTok, or they're just buying it because of that, some people maybe, yes, but for me personally, I will tell you if I like it, honestly, and I fucking loved them. So yes, I think the Twisted series is definitely worth the hype. Obviously the other 2 books maybe not so much, but Twisted Games, yes, Twisted Games all the way. Right, next one we're going to talk about is Tessa Bailey. Now Tessa Bailey, I'm sorry, but I've read 3 of her books. I can't remember one of them. I remember 2 of them, which is Secretly Yours and Killer Vacation. Now these 2 are really odd in the way that they're written, and I mean that by the characters. They don't go together. It's really strange how they get together, and this, you know, the thingy scenes, the spicy scenes are just a bit and just a bit odd, like it don't really match up. It's really fucking weird. And Killer Vacation, it's supposed to be a thriller / romance. That is not a thriller. It is in no means a thriller book at all. Now if you said a Freedom McFadden romance, or even Butcher and Blackbird, for example, Butcher and Blackbird, that is a thriller romance, more so than Killer Vacation. Killer Vacation is not a thriller at all. It's more of a romance book. But for me, I think that was the last book I read by Tessa Bailey, to be fair, and I can't remember the other book I read. I know I've read 3 by her, but I can't remember what the other one is. So Killer Vacation, just, that was it. That was me out of that one, and I just haven't picked up another Tessa Bailey book, to be honest, and that's the reason, because I just find them fucking weird and odd and strange in the way that the, you know, the spicy scenes are done, and oh, it was just fucking a state. But Secretly Yours, I thought, oh, let's give this a go. It's fucking boring as fuck. Boring as shit. I'm sorry if you like that book, but I just couldn't get myself into it. I did manage to read all of it because I pushed myself to read it, whereas now I think I would have just fuck this shit, we're out. But this one, again, a gardener and what was the other fucking, a wine, something to do with wine anyway, making wine and stuff. I can't remember what it was called, but I was like, what the fuck? Like, I know people have different professions and you think, why have they come together? But the way they did come together, literally, was fucking strange. Like, they didn't even know each other, but they did. And then they were doing it on the table. No, on the kitchen side. And the strangest fucking way. And then the next minute, pretended they didn't know each other. I was like, what the fuck is going on in this book? So yeah, personally for me, Tessa Bailey books, the ones I have read, have just not really lived up to the hype for me. And I definitely would not recommend them as a Booktok book. People have said that they love them. Fair enough. There is other books out by her that people might have absolutely adored. But these ones, I just can't fucking stand. I can't get into the writing style of it. And I can't get into the way that she writes about spice. It's just fucking odd. So for me personally, Tessa Bailey books are no. Then we have Lucy Score books. Now I have only read 2, which is part of a series, so I can't really judge on the rest of them, but the 2 that I have read, obviously I can make my decision. It's The Things We Never Got Over. Now this Things We Never Got Over was so hyped on TikTok. Every single person used to love Things We Never Got Over. They're like, oh my god, this book is so good. For me personally, couldn't stand it. And that's the truth. I could not stand this book. Things We Never Got Over was very much descriptive, and I mean to the point where if you were walking into a room, the book was describing every single little thing that was in the room. Like if you went, oh, I walked into the bedroom, and in the bedroom I saw a white set of drawers with a cupboard next to it that was also white. Like it was very much descriptive to the point where it was like it wasn't necessary, it was fucking pointless. And the main characters in that book, oh, Jesus, Daisy, I can't remember her actual fucking name, but I know her nickname was Daisy. I could not fucking stand. She'd do my fucking head in. She was too much of a fairy, do you know what I mean? Like she was very much a flouncy fairy, to the point where you just wanted to fucking kick her up. And she was just a bit dippy, to the point where it was unnecessarily dippy. And then you have Knox, that's his name. I was trying to think what his name was. Knox was a very arrogant arsehole all the way through the book until right at the end. I was like, really? Now you come to your senses? But I still don't fucking like. He wasn't very nice to her right from the beginning, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, let's all get together and we'll have sex and we'll do this, and I'm just like, oh my god, he's still a fucking arsehole. Really, for me, I just didn't enjoy that book. But saying that, the next book in this series was Things We Hide from the Light. Now this one was so fucking good. I love this one. This one was favourite. This got 5 stars, so it just depends. I think she improved her writing a lot from the second one. It was less descriptive, it was straight to the point, the characters were written better, and I much preferred this one over Things We Never Got Over. Out of them 2, I would prefer Things We Hide from the Light. That one was just, oh, Nash and Lena were just so good. Lena was very strong-headed, fiery, don't take no shit off a man. And and Nash was very much a sweet, kind, gentle, caring man, and he wasn't an arsehole, whereas Knox was just a fucking dickhead right from the start, and I just couldn't stand him. So these characters were written differently, and I think that might be what it is that puts me off a book, is if the characters are not in the way that I want them to be, or portrayed in the way that I like it. I don't know, and I just couldn't get the vibe of it. So Nash I much preferred as a boyfriend than I did Knox, because Knox was a right fucking arsehole and I can't stand him. So yeah, this one definitely got straight to the point quicker, and it was written a bit better than the first one. So if you are thinking about reading them, I mean, a lot of people do like them, don't get me wrong, but for me, the first one just didn't do it for me, and I fucking couldn't stand it. I much preferred the second one in that series. And then, like I say, I've got the last one, don't know about that because I haven't judged it yet. I haven't read it, so I don't know. So them ones, Things We Hide from the Light, definitely worth the hype. Things We Never Got Over, definitely not worth the hype. So make your decision as you will. Then we're going to talk about a few of the others. Now these are just in singular form. I have not read any of the books by the author apart from the book that I'm obviously going to mention. So the first one is Spanish Love Deception. Now this one is a very, very, very slow burn. Like, it's fucking it might as well just be not lit. That's how fucking slow it is. The only reason I actually enjoyed this book is towards the end. I liked the ending of this book, but it just took so long to kick off. The fucking shit in it was just, oh my days. I thought, Jesus Christ, come on. Like, we know you like each other, just get to the point. But it just dragged on and on and on, and it just wasn't really... If you like a slow burn book that's really, really slow, I suggest getting that one. But for me, it just wasn't quick enough getting to the point. I was just a bit like, not my favourite, don't really like it, and I don't want to fucking read it again. So yes, for me, this one is a no. It's not worth the hype. So the next one is kind of like a part of a series, but they can be read as separate books as well. These are called Set on You and X's and O's. Now, Set on You I would definitely recommend. X's and O's I would not. Now, Set on You is about a plus size gym influencer, and she is very much a strong-headed, straight up person, and I really like that. I like the fact that she wrote about, well, the author wrote about a plus size girl in that position, and also talking about the fact that she went to the gym to better herself and to do because she wanted to do it, so she wanted to portray it through social media. And then she also meets a man that's a bit more buff and a bit more like fitted and less likely to be with somebody like that in society terms, and I like that aspect of it. I like the fact that she wrote about a plus size girl and in that industry getting with somebody who is, you know, not your typical person that they would normally get with, and I like that side of it. However, X's and O's is about her sister. So X's and O's, she lived in fairy tale land, and it was just that to the point where she was very fucking docile, she was very dippy, and everything had to be fairy tale related, as in, oh, we have to do this, and oh, we love each other, and you know, it was just a bit like, fucking hell, like, Jesus Christ, like, get over yourself. But Trevor in that book wasn't bad. It's just, it was very much based around a fairy tale to the point where you were like, it doesn't really happen like that in real life. Like, she was a bit fucking dippy. But Crystal, who was in Set on You, I really liked. Crystal in this book, I wanted to slap her all over. She gave her opinion too much to her sister and was like, oh, well, I don't think you should be in this relationship, I don't think you should be doing this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, in the other book, you were saying, like, you'd been in and out of toxic relationships, you were just having one thing from people and then just leaving them. And I was like, you can't fucking judge. So in this book, she got on my fucking nerves. She irritated me. But in the other book, as a main character, I really liked her. So she just switched in the other book and I was like, what the fuck? So yeah, for me, X and O's, no. But Set on You, yes. Million Kisses in Your Lifetime. Now this one is the second book in the series. I didn't realise that when I read it until I found out on TikTok that I'd read it in the wrong order. There is another book before this one, and then this is the second one, and then there's two other books in the series. This one for me, I did enjoy this book. This one is a cute little, you know, YA book, but I got very confused of what was happening in the book because obviously I didn't realise it was the second part of a series. So yes, but the only thing that I didn't like in this book was the lollipop scene. What on earth was the lollipop scene? Why did you need to do that? Oh, it was ridiculous. But everything else, I really liked it. It was alright. I kind of would say yes to read it, but definitely read the other one first, the first book in the series, because otherwise you're going to read this book and you're going to be confused on what the fuck is happening, because I definitely wanted to begin in and it took me a while to get into it because of that reason, but I didn't know. So yes, we have A Million Kisses in Your Lifetime. I would say yes to recommended it, and it'd be worth the hype from TikTok. But definitely read the first one before you go into this one. Otherwise, you're going to be as confused as I was. The next one we have is The Roommate. Now, this one I picked up not realising it was in third person. But at the time, I was like, well, I picked it up now. Let's just read it and see what it's about. Now, this one, I wouldn't really recommend it. It's not really worth the hype because it was a bit fucking odd. Basically, he was a male exotic actor, shall we say, and she was, I don't even know what she was, I can't remember what she was, but she wanted to get out of what she was doing and she was trying to build her life on something else, and then ends up getting with this bloke and builds a business with him over what he does, which was odd in myself. But it was written in third person and I was really struggling with it, but when I did get into it, it wasn't as bad and as hard to read as some others I've read. I personally wouldn't say that it was worth the hype, to be honest. It just was a bit not my best recommendation from TikTok, to be honest, and personally for me it's just not nah. If you don't like third person books, then that's a warning for you. It is in third person and you're more likely not going to read it. So yeah, just as a warning. But if you don't mind that sort of thing, then I probably wouldn't anyway, just because it was a bit odd. It was alright, like it wasn't the worst book I've ever read, but definitely not worth the hype that it got on TikTok. Next one is by Christina Lauren, I think her name is, and this is The Soulmate Equation. Now this one was the very first book that I bought off TikTok, off eBay, second hand, because I just wanted to test it, and I thought, oh, let's see what books are best to read. Like, this is the one that came up, and I was like, oh, let's buy it, let's see what it's about. If you've heard the sound, I love the taste of nothing on TikTok, then that is what this book is giving. This book is giving why? There was nothing in it. It got to a point where like, oh my god, they're gonna get it on, and then it stopped, and it was like, what was the point? Like, what was the point in this story? There was nothing in it. I didn't like it. There was no go in it, and I hated it personally. So if you are thinking about reading it, don't fucking bother. Don't bother. Oh, I feel like it's just all negative. I'm so sorry, but it's just, some of the books are just definitely not worth the hype on TikTok, and personally they shouldn't be getting that much hype. But the next one is another one that I didn't really like, The Hating Game. Again, what the fuck was this? This one, what the fuck was this? This one is about enemies to lovers, but it weren't really enemies to lovers. They just sort of pretended to hate each other, but then didn't hate each other in the real world. Like, they worked together, and because they were rivals against each other, they sort of hated each other, but they didn't, because in the end they got together, and oh, it was so boring. It was so, oh my god, it just droned. I thought, no, this is not for me. It's not a bit of me. She was like, oh, he hates me so much, and like, oh, I could have put my hand through the book and strangled her. That's how much I fucking hated it. So yeah, The Hating Game for me, not a bit of me, and definitely not worth the TikTok hype. I'm trying to find a book that I actually liked, that I actually want to recommend, but I'm just going through my list. Icebreaker. Okay, I'm just going to go with it. I'm just going to go with how I wrote it on the list. Icebreaker. This wasn't a bad story, but it didn't really have a story to it, to be honest. And it didn't really have a story to it. It was just spice. Like, there was no real story behind it. Like I said, with Twisted Games, there's more of a story behind it, and then obviously a bit of that as well. But Icebreaker, I felt like I was just reading, there was nothing to it. It just gave the taste of nothing. Like, literally, it was just a bit pointless of a read, to be honest. Now, I have Wildfire on my TBR, and the reason why I bought that one is because I just wanted to see if it was any different. Like, the fact that Lucy Score wrote one book and I really liked the next one in the series, I just wanted to see if this one was the same. So, personally for me, Icebreaker just wasn't it for me. It's about an ice skater and a hockey player, I think. And he wanted her straight away, and she was like, no, like, I'm not really bothered. And then all of a sudden they started to get together because he couldn't play hockey anymore, or she couldn't skate or something like that, and they ended up practicing together. Oh yeah, because she lost a partner in the skating realm, so he ended up practicing with her, and then she was getting cozy with him, and then everything else started happening, but there was no really storyline to it, and I was a bit bored, to be honest. So for me personally, that book just wasn't fucking worth it. So I'm hoping the next one is good. I don't usually buy the next ones if I don't like the first ones, but sometimes I do, and sometimes I do end up liking the next one. So I'm giving myself that chance with this series because people have said they really liked it, so I'm giving it another chance. But personally for me, Icebreaker, no. 1,000 Boy Kisses. This was very popular by Tilly Cole. Everybody really liked this book because it was a very touching book, very heartfelt book. Now this one, it has a little bit of spice in it, but not majorly to the point where you like, you know, it's constant. It was only a slight bit in one chapters, I think. But this one, if you have gone through this similar situation or seen someone else go through this similar situation, then it would more than likely tug on your heartstrings and would probably make you cry, because it is quite a sad book. I didn't end up crying, but it's not because I didn't think it was sad, it's just I didn't really feel that connection with the book. So I would say yes, I would recommend it if you're wanting to cry. If you're wanting to sort of go through that book and not relive an experience, but just know that someone else has also been in that situation in the fictional world, then it would be a nice read. But if it is going to trigger anything, then I would say no. So yeah, either or. But was it worth the hype? Probably not. It's just because I don't particularly love reading about sad, really sad things like that. I think I want to read a book that's uplifting and a bit more fluffy and a bit more exciting to get rid of that feeling from the real world, if that makes sense. So yeah, it just either or, to be honest. But yeah, that's my personal opinion on that book, and that's what I'm going to stick with. Until I Met You is the next one. Again, no. I think I'm just going to literally go no in the next couple of books I've got. But this one, again, this was by a Love Island star, I think, or Love Island influencer, written by Amber Gill, I think her name was. No, I'm sorry, stick with your Love Island shit, because this book was just not it. I didn't like this book at all. It was very pointless. It got to the point where you're like, oh my god, something's going to happen, you know, they're going to get together, and then it was like, no. It was like, what the fuck? And then once it came on to the next chapter, it then switched completely to like a few days later. I was like, what the fuck is going on here? It was just seemed a bit rushed and a bit pointless, and I didn't really like the book. So the hype this one got round, nah, not for me. The Atlas 6, I picked this book up thinking it was going to be a similar thing to Harry Potter. I wanted something that was going to get me into the fantasy reading again, and I tried this one because I thought, oh, it sounds very much like Harry Potter, let's give it a go. No, I DNF'd this book. I DNF'd this book because I didn't like it. I just couldn't get into it. There was too many characters to fucking think about, too many things going off, and I just couldn't get my head around this book at all. I think about the 50% mark, I was like, no, I'm just going to shut it. I closed it and I never opened it again, and I just couldn't get into it. So personally for me, Atlas 6, is that worth the hype? No, it's not. Flawless, right, we'll go on to a happy note. Flawless by Elsie Silver. This is the first book I've ever read by her, and this is the first ever cowboy romance that I've actually read. This one for me, I actually really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the little bit at the beginning where Rhett was being a bit of an arsehole, a bit of an arsewipe. I just couldn't get into it, and I couldn't stand him. It was actually really baby. It was such a baby and such a fucking knobhead. But then towards the end, we saw the personal growth of him and her together. She was very straight right from the beginning, like, no, if you're not gonna treat me right, then I don't really care. Like, I've had a dad that's been like fucking, you know, effing and blinding everything in front of me as I'm growing up, and been like that, so I am not taking any shit, and that's what he's taught me to do growing up. So that is what she did all the way through the book. She stuck to her guns, and she was like, no, if he wants me, he can come and get me, I ain't running after him. In the end, he realised, actually I do want her, and he went running to her. So yes. She was very strong-headed in this story, and I really liked her, but Rhett was getting on my nerves at the beginning, but then towards the end, actually, I really enjoyed it, because he then came out of his shell and realised, actually, it's not just me I'm hurting everybody else around me, and he decided to stop. So yes, I actually thoroughly enjoyed that book, and it made me want a cowboy myself, so yes. Yes, I do think that Flawless in particular, I haven't read any of the other books in the series yet, but Flawless in particular, I think is worth the hype. Say You Swear, oh, I'm sorry, but I can't. This book took me so long to finish because I just wasn't feeling it. I think I read half of it, or at least a quarter of it, and I was like, no, I'm not feeling this book. I cannot stand it any longer. And I put it down for so long, and I picked up another book and read another book in between, or 2 or 3 books, and then I decided to go back to it, which then I ended up really enjoying it, because then I went back to it, if that makes sense. Like, to begin with, I was like, oh my god, this is so drony, it's taking so long. Why is it taking a piss? It was very slow burning, and it just wasn't a bit of me. So then it's kind of half and half, maybe not, but Chase in this story got on my nerves. He was she basically really fancied Chase, and she wanted him, and she always wanted him, and then he was like, oh no, I know that she wants me, like, oh, I'll just pretend and mess about. But then towards the end, once her eyes were on somebody else, is then when he was like, oh, actually she's not chasing me anymore, let's try and find her again, let's see if she starts going over me again. And because she didn't, he didn't like it. I was like, what the fuck? You need a smack in your mouth, that's what you need. So yes, that for me, I think that character in that book really put me off, and I think that's probably why I didn't like it so much. But I liked Noah in the book. He was kind of sweet. He, you know, he was just a normal person all the way through, and he treated her with respect, and especially at the end as well. So yeah, Chase, just no, I wouldn't read the next one because it's about his side of the story, and I think I don't really give a fuck. I don't really care about your side of the story because you're annoying. So yes, for me personally, I would say yes one way and no the other. Like, it's kind of maybe it's worth the hype. No, it's not. No, it's not worth the hype. It's not worth the hype. There we go. It's not worth the hype. Then we've got Hooked. This is a fairy tale retelling. This for me, I actually thoroughly enjoyed. I went in blind. I didn't know this book was a fairy tale that was retold. I didn't have a clue about that. I just knew it was a dark romance, and I went into it blind, and I actually really enjoyed it. I don't know if there's more stories to this particular one, or whether it's like each one that's just written is a retelling of another Disney film, for example. Obviously this one's about Peter Pan and Captain Hook. So Captain Hook is the main character in this book, and some of the stuff he does, oh my fucking god, he's tapped. But you can kind of get the gist of why he is the way he was. Well, why he was the way he was, and why things was happening in the way that he did. Yeah, like I say, I really like this book. This one, it tells you about Captain Hook's side of the story rather than Peter Pan. So Peter Pan is Wendy's dad rather than her brother, and then obviously Captain Hook actually gets with Wendy and not Peter. So yes, it's obviously switched around a bit, but I actually thoroughly enjoyed this book. This one was obviously a dark romance, my very first dark romance, and like I say, I went into it not knowing it was a retelling of another story, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I just hope there's another story to this particular one, but I don't think there is. I think they're all retelling of different stories, different Disney films as what I've read, so I'm hoping there is another one to this one, but I don't think there is. I think they're all retellings of Disney stories. So yes, if you would ask me if this is worth the hype, then I would say yes, it is definitely worth the hype and definitely worth the read if you want the dark adult version of Peter Pan. The next one is Pumpkin Spice Cafe. Now, if you have watched a couple of my reading vlogs, then you will know that I did not enjoy this fucking story at all. This was in third person to start with, and I thought, you know what, let's listen to it on audiobook and see if I can get it in better like that. I might as well have not been bothered, because that story was just cringy as fuck. Some of the parts in it that were talking about sex and all that, it was really odd in the way that we're talking about it, and really childlike, if that makes sense. It was just, oh, not my favourite, and I didn't like it. And if it's worth the hype, if you ask me if it's worth the hype, I'm going to say no. And I have not read the other ones, so I don't know if the other ones are any good, but for me personally that really put me off, and I would not bother even reading the other ones, because if they're all in third person, I'm not going to pick them up anyway. But my god, what on earth was that? The hype around that book was unnecessary. It was ridiculous. Not my favourite, and I would not recommend that book. Then we have Night Shift by Annie Crown. This one again was very much hyped. I really like this one. If you are a fan of the After series, then this one is very similar in the way that it is. It's a YA romance. I believe it's come from Wattpad. I have mentioned this a couple of times in my videos, but I think it's come from Wattpad. So that's probably why it's very similar to the After series, but I actually really enjoyed it. I really liked it. I liked the way it was written. I liked the way that it was, you know, cutesy, romantic, and I got through it so fast and it got me out of a slump. So this one, I would say it is definitely worth the hype. Right, we have 4 more books and then I'm going to stop chatting because this video is going to be so fucking long. So the next one is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This one, again, I DNF'd because I just couldn't get on with it. It was just too flicky floppy and I couldn't get my hand around it. It was just really boring to me. And I know that a lot of people do like Taylor Jenkins Reid and they enjoy her books, but for me, this one I just couldn't get into, and I'm really debating about the ones that I have on my shelf to get rid of, because I just think if that one book is like that, is the rest of them going to be like that? But then again, I said that with some other authors before and I've enjoyed the other ones that they've wrote, so I'm like, I don't know. I just can't get into it. I don't like it, and not my favourite. I just didn't understand it. It was like she got with this man, she really loved him, and then he disappeared, and then all of a sudden she's like, oh, you know, she's crying because he thinks, oh, he's dead, you know, it's this, that and the other, because he's gone on this mission, well, not this mission, but he's gone out travelling and no one can find him, he's missing. And she's kind of accepted that for so many years and been like, right, enough's enough now, like, I'm not going to wallow anymore, he's never coming back to me. And then she then ends up in a music shop, I think, or a library or something, I can't remember what it was, and she ends up meeting this one that she used to go to school with, and she starts getting to know him and she actually really likes him, starts getting with him, and then the other one starts to turn up. But it's just a bit like, no, it's not a bit of me, I didn't really like it, and I DNF'd it at that point. I was like, I can't cope with it, I don't like it, so I stopped. So no, I don't think that one is worth the hype either. Love Struck, I'm not sure if this one was hyped on TikTok. I feel like it was when it first got released, and then it sort of died down a little bit, so I can't remember, but I'm going to say anyway. Again, DNF'd, didn't like it, couldn't get into it. Third person as well, which I didn't realise, and I just couldn't get the swing of it. It was too wishy-washy and I just couldn't, so again, no, not with that. And then we have 2 more thrillers, which is Keep It in the Family and Butter and Blackbird. Now, Butter and Blackbird, I have been anticipating this book for a very long time, and I was like, oh my god, I'm going to read it. It sounds really good. I started to read it. I wouldn't say it was really a thrillery book. It was more focused on the romance side of it. And even though they were both serial killers, that's the only part that was thrillery. Like, they used to go out and people that were, you know, murderers, rapists, paedophiles, that sort of thing. They did it because of that, and not just for the sake of it. So I like that aspect of it, but the romancy bit was on and off. It took a very, very long time for them to finally get together. Like, at the point where you're like, oh my god, they're going to get together, and it was like, no, 4 years later. And I'm like, oh my god. So yeah, it took a very long time to get into because they just weren't getting together at the point where they're supposed to have done. So for me personally, no, I wouldn't really say it was a thriller book, but I also wouldn't recommend it either. And I wouldn't say it was worth the hype. I don't know about the other books because I think there's 2 other books. I know there's an orange cover and there's a green cover, which is obviously about her friend. And I don't know what the last one is about. But anyway, I just didn't really feel it, and it just wasn't gripping me in the way that a thriller would normally. So yes, for me personally, no. Then the last one is Keep It in the Family by John Mars. Now, if you have read a Frida McFadden book, a lot of people say that if you like them books, then you're more than likely like John Mars. I have literally just finished this book. I would say it was alright. It was okay. I think at points, if you are reading about that certain thing and you are getting triggered by it, then don't bother reading it at all, because it is about child loss. So I wouldn't bother reading it if that's what's going to trigger you. But to me, I would recommend reading it. I would say give it a go, because to start with, it was a bit like, I don't know if I'm going to like it. I think because when I start reading a thriller, I always think, oh, Frida McFadden, Frida McFadden, Frida McFadden. But then I think I try and give other authors a go, but I don't particularly like it because it's not living up to what Frida McFadden can do. Even though some of the books are questionable. But this one I actually quite enjoyed. And even though it wasn't really a thriller to begin with, it kind of was towards the end because there was a lot of happening. But it was mainly about children's deaths and what was happening about missing children and stuff like that, and it was fucked up, but it was quite good in the sense of I wanted to know what was going to happen next. I preferred the ending of it towards the last like 5 or 6 chapters, whereas the beginning of it I was like, this is not thrillery. Like, this is a woman that's absolutely going mad about this situation and everybody thinks she's fucking crazy, whereas in the end she's not actually as crazy as what she was in the beginning. So yeah, I would actually recommend that book, and I'd say give it a go, because you never know whether you're going to like it. But if that is a trigger warning, then don't bother reading it, because it's quite hard. So yeah, they are all the books that I think are worth the hype / not worth the hype. A lot of them I would say probably not worth the hype. I think a lot of the books are hyped on TikTok to get them up and boosted and, you know, people buying them, whereas the actual opinion of the book is not really as good as what people are saying it is. So yes, don't always trust the hype that people are jumping on. Just trust your own judgment, and if you want to buy it, buy it, and if you don't, you don't. You know, it's not the end all or be all if you don't have all the popular books. So yeah, if you have any other popular books that you think are worth the hype and you think I should read, then let me know in the comments below. But if you did enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye. Oh, that was so long.